So my name is Dani, and basically I've never done anything like this before, but I just really wanted to share with you my story. Just been having quite a tough couple of days with my illness, and I just kind of felt like it was the right time to start a bit of a vlog. I have been thinking about doing it for quite a while, but I've been quite a private person about this whole experience that I've been going through, and I just kind of wanted to let everything settle, and then think about whether or not I wanted to post it. So here it goes. So basically, it all started probably a good 3 years ago. I went to Kenya, and I flew home, and I got a really bad ear infection, and basically it just kept coming back, and I remember having to go for a procedure which was it was basically like a microsuction. It was quite painful, and it's basically like a little tiny like mini Hoover, and they just like get down into your ear canal, and then just like suck all the crap out basically. And at the time they just said, it's just a really bad ear infection. I went on antibiotics and it was fine. But then what happened after that actually led up to my diagnosis of a disease called Cholesteatoma, which I was diagnosed with in October 2018. So I didn't actually know anything at all about this disease, until I probably about 3 or 4 months ago. Even after my diagnosis, it was still very unclear to me what it actually meant, and what it was, but I actually joined a support group on Facebook, and it's really helped me to understand a little bit more about kind of the disease and the symptoms and kind of what's normal. Yeah, and it's been a great support really. So going back to my diagnosis, so basically in 2008, about 3 years ago, I had flown to Kenya, got this awful ear infection, and then basically I just kept getting recurring pain in my ear, and my hearing kind of just disappeared after this one ear infection, and it just hasn't come back since, and it got a lot worse in time as well. So I kept going back to the doctors just with these kind of weird like symptoms. Like at first, for the first couple of years, it was just like I would get ear infections and my ear like always felt full, and I was like, when I was getting out of the shower, I was constantly like patting my ear because I thought that I had like water stuck behind it, and then I'd get like another ear infection, and I'd go back and they'd be like, oh no, it's just another ear infection, like you just need to keep your ear dry, and then give me drops, and oh my god, like the amount of stuff I tried. So I think it was probably about a year and a half into the whole process, when we couldn't kind of like work out what was going on with my ear, I got told by the doctors, they thought that I had a dysfunctional eustachian tube. I think that's how you pronounce it. And basically, that's like the tube that drains all of the like crap from your ear basically, and I got told that I had like a really narrow one, so it basically wasn't like functioning properly. So I was told to try to use this thing called an otovent, which actually is hilarious. So it's basically, I don't have it anymore because I got rid of it, but it's basically like, it's like a little tube thing, and you hold one nostril, you blow into it, and it blows up into like a big balloon. It's like a balloon basically. And then when you breathe out, the idea is that it opens up your airways, your eustachian tube, and then it like opens up everything, and it stretches your tube so that then it encourages the air to flow through it or something. I can't really remember how it works. So I used to use this like, especially before I was going out for like social gatherings and stuff. I used to use it as a way to kind of unblock my ears, and it used to just help with my hearing a little bit. So after I did it, my hearing would like open up, and I'd be able to hear for like a couple of hours, and then you almost felt it like my ear like close again, and it was really frustrating because all I wanted it to do was just to open, and then I'd just feel like this click and it would close again, and I'd be like, fuck's sake, my hearing's gone again. So basically I went down that route for quite a while with the Otovent, and then I remember the doctor said, you know, just stick with the Otovent, try taking Sudafed as well, because that will just help to open everything up so that it will clear your ears out and you'll be able to like hear better and things. But just nothing was working, and it was just getting worse and worse. And I got to a point where I think it was, well, the whole reason why I'm kind of feeling quite emotional about it specifically today is because it was about a year ago where things started to get really, really quite bad. I kind of like was, sorry, it's quite hard for me to talk about actually. I kind of like started to not be myself quite a lot. And there was a point where I started to deteriorate quite quickly in terms of like my speech. My speech stopped kind of, it didn't stop, but it was just that I was slow over my words. It was quite scary. And my hearing was obviously deteriorating as well. So it was quite frustrating, and I was starting to pull away from like my friends and stuff. Like I wasn't going out as often, and because I was just finding it so frustrating, like not being able to hear people. And then I was starting to get really bad anxiety as well. So because I was anxious about not being able to hear people, I was removing myself from social situations because I didn't want to be embarrassed. Like I just remember feeling like, and I still get it now, where if I've got to like talk in public or something, if I like fuck up my words, I get really embarrassed. Or if I can't hear someone, I've got to ask them to repeat it several times. Like it's just really embarrassing. So yeah, so my speech has started to go really funny. So I was like slurring my words, and I also at the same time had this symptom which was really quite scary, where I could smell smoke constantly. So it's like someone was literally smoking a fag right next to me 24/7, to the point where, I mean, I'm not a smoker, so, you know, I'm not used to that kind of thing anyway, but do you know when you get like a smell and it's like in your nose and you want to be like, oh, and it's just like there, and it's like at the back of your throat and you feel like you want to like cough. It was to that extreme. So it was like cigarette smoke all the time. And what I noticed was, it was when I was stressed. So basically, when I went to the doctor, and I got this one doctor, and I remember her taking it quite seriously, and I'd seen, I can't even tell you guys how many doctors I'd seen by this point. And basically she said that she suspected that I had potentially something pressing on a nerve that affected my senses. So because my speech was being affected, and my eyesight was being affected as well, so I'd go kind of like blurry because of the sense of smell as well, and my hearing, all of my senses were kind of off. And she said, look, you know, I think that we best send you for some scans, just because in the past some of your symptoms are reflective of like a brain tumour. So for me that was absolutely terrifying, and I went through this whole period after I heard that, I actually went downhill quite badly, and I had to take some time off work because it was just way too much. I was just so exhausted 24/7, and I just couldn't even muster up the energy to even talk, really. I was just absolutely exhausted, and it was just the idea that I could possibly have something like a brain tumour was terrifying in itself, but then also the symptoms themselves were just wearing me out as well. So I took some time off work, and then when I came back to work by the time I came back to work, I'd had all my MRI scans and my CT scans and things. But while I was off, I had like this kind of really bad bout of numbness in my, all down my face and down like my neck and down my left arm. And my husband had to take me to A&E because I thought that I was, I don't know, it was just really scary. And I was really like non-responsive to him and stuff, and we went to A&E and they checked me over and there was apparently nothing wrong with me, and it was becoming quite frustrating because it was like there is something wrong. So then basically I got my results back. It didn't have a brain tumour, which was amazing, obviously a huge relief. And I went back to the doctors like 4 times back on NHS, and they didn't tell me that I had cholesteatoma. So I was there at the doctors being like, yeah guys, my symptoms are getting a lot worse. Like, I know that we've ruled out that I don't have a brain tumour, but something else is going on. And then I went to see one doctor, which actually, it was just pure luck really. He was so happened to be the practice, the like main, almost like the head GP. And he just sat down and he was really lovely. And I said, can you have a look in my ears and check, because I feel like I've got another infection. And he was like, okay, before we do that, let me just talk to you a little bit, and just check in with how you're feeling about everything. And I was like, okay. So he said, how are you coping with your tumour? And I was like, what tumour? And he was like, oh, sorry, maybe, he was like, people don't always call it a tumour. So some people do call it a tumour, other people don't. He said, your diagnosis with cholesteatoma, how are you doing? And I was like, what? So basically what had happened was, because I didn't have the follow-up appointment privately, the information had been sent over to my doctors and had been updated on my file, but they hadn't actually got in touch with me to give me the results. So I was just kind of sat there like, yeah, I don't know anything about this. So that's where my diagnosis came from. And yeah, so I found out that was in November, early December. So it was just before Christmas, which actually was a really horrible time because I'm in retail, and that's where I need to be like at the top of my game, and it's really busy, and I have like my team almost doubles in size, so I need to be the best version of myself that I could possibly be. But it was a really hard day. I kind of remember walking out of the doctors and just calling my husband and being like, fuck, we're kind of back to square one. I thought I didn't have anything seriously wrong with me, but I've just been told that I've got cholesteatoma. So basically I have recorded this today, 16 minutes already. Well done if you're still with me. Just because I kind of realised that nobody knows about this disease, and it's a weird one because basically it's when your ear, please don't quote me because I'm still learning about it, and there are so many different like versions of this out there. It's really bizarre because it's quite rare, but it basically is like a bacteria. When your ear can't clear itself out, so like with my eustachian tube dysfunction, I've been told by my doctors that because of that you get a build-up of the of all your crap basically that would normally drain. It can't drain, so because of that dysfunction you get this bacteria build-up, and the bacteria build-up is called the cholesteatoma, I think. And basically this build-up has formed into a mass, which then can attach onto the eardrum, and actually it can be really serious because it can eat through and erode through bone. So all of your tiny little bones, so you've got 3 little bones, which are your hearing bones in your ears. I think they're called ossicles, I think. Like I said, I'm no expert because I'm still learning about all this stuff. But basically you've got like a balance organ in your ear as well. And I suffer terribly with my balance. So I like stumble over things, my hand-eye coordination has just gone so shit, which is really frustrating. But it basically can sit on the eardrum and it can eat through your mastoid bone as well, and then it can get into the brain, which then can cause meningitis. So yeah, so it can be really serious, and the way that it's affected me, it's definitely affected my mental health to start with, but I think that's because of the other symptoms. So for example, like when I have like my dizziness or my hearing, it's really frustrating, and I'm quite an active person and I love to talk to people, and obviously with my job I'm face to face with customers all the time and I lead my team and I'm talking to my team constantly, but I found it quite embarrassing. So there's the dizziness, my eyesight has gone completely funny. It's just like the blurriness and kind of like spots and things like that in my eyes. I went through a phase where the whole of my neck, you probably can't tell, but you can't really see, but it's like this part of my neck here where the muscle is so tense where I'm literally in pain. I've like been like this all the time. So I've got like a giant muscle in my neck where it's really, really painful. But the pain kind of goes from like down here all the way down here and then into my collarbone. And then more recently I've had it all the way down my arm and in my shoulder, like to like halfway of my arm. Excuse me, to the point where sometimes I can't even like lift my arm up. Yeah, I think everybody has different symptoms. And then of course the smelling smoke as well, which is just fucking horrible. But basically I just really wanted to share with you guys kind of my journey, just to make people aware, and just something that's really sat with me actually, in that if you're ill, I can't think of what the saying is, I saw it the other day and I was like, yeah, that really resonates with me. It's like if you don't have an illness that people can see, people think that you're fine. But I've been suffering with this for a year and it's really fucking hard. And it's really frustrating, and I think that sometimes I can put on a brave face, but actually I'm in pain every single day. And I have this eyesight thing all the time, like not all the time as in like every minute of every day, but just when I have like, when I'm stressed or when I'm kind of like excited, I can get it as well. So like if I'm having a laugh with my friends, then like I can kind of get it, and it's like, oh, I need to kind of slow down. And I just think that it's really important just to highlight that, you know, just because somebody doesn't look ill doesn't mean that they're not ill. So yeah, so I you know, I hope that I'm gonna post another one. I'm gonna record another one in a minute, but I just wanted to kind of introduce myself and my journey, and I'm sure there's loads of things that I've missed out because it's been going on for so many years, but I just wanted to introduce myself. So I'm gonna be blogging, vlogging, whatever it is. I'm gonna be vlogging probably every day. I have my surgery on Friday, so yeah. So thank you so much for watching, if you're still watching, and yeah, big love, and hopefully I'll catch you guys on the next video. Thank you.